A.G. Kawamura was the final speaker for the University of Nebraska-Lincoln's Heuerman Lecture Series Wednesday. A.G. spoke at the close of this week's Water for Food Global Conference held at Nebraska Innovation Campus in Lincoln. A.G. served as California's Secretary of Food and Agriculture from 2003 to 2010 and currently owns and operates Orange County Produce in Southern California. We talked with A.G. Tuesday on Innovation Campus about water resources, food security, and how urban agriculture differs from what many farmers are used to here in the wide open areas of the Midwest.
Well, just by scale alone, you've got tremendous differences in the logistics of how you might be farming. If you're on a single piece of ground, you may rent a tractor, or you may try and repurpose a vacant lot. I mean, it's so night and day different, even though it has a lot of similarities. So the way we would look at it in urban agriculture, the way we're practicing it in our area, we're still the same rural farmer that we were once upon a time. We farm on about 800 to 1,000 acres, depending on the year. Urbanization came and surrounded us in all areas, and so we're still farming on a large amount of acreage, but on a lot of different little pieces. And we go around looking for vacant lots, for example, and if the weeds look good, you know it's a good piece of ground. You look for the fire hydrant if there's water, or a connection for water, and if you have those two, you realize you can step right in and take a 5-acre piece, a 4-acre piece, or larger, and that's actually a viable piece of acreage that you can turn around, repurpose, and farm.
What role does urban agriculture play in solving the challenges of food security?
Well, you know, we always say you can't feed the world from a rooftop. So there's rooftop gardens, there's community gardens, there's community farms, there's local farms, urban farms, there's indoor production systems, and they are all growing tremendously. They are part of a food system that can augment the regular global food system or the regional food system. And because a lot of those new technologies allow for basically a zero seasonality. In other words, you can grow them any time of the year because you're controlling the seasonality inside a building or inside of a hoop house. It allows you then to also create a different kind of market space and a different kind of continuity of product. So with fruits and vegetables, and that's of course where my background is a lot, is focused, it opens the door for maybe looking at a year-round production system all in the same spot, whether you're in Minneapolis or Phoenix, Arizona.
So I've listened to some of your thoughts on this before, but why do you think we haven't solved the challenge of food security across the globe?
Well, it's kind of a simple answer to that. We have the capacity to feed everybody on the planet right now. Our challenge is, will we have the same capacity to feed everybody 10, 20, 30 years from now when the population increases up to 9-point-something billion? But do we have the will to feed everybody becomes more of a political policy question. And it's not so much a logistical problem as it used to be 50 years ago. The logistics are easier, the ability to move food around, to get food to certain places. There's a tremendous famine threat currently. Actually, it's a reality in Africa, for example, right now. In that case, there's a will not to allow certain people to have access to food. And so our world really revolves around two things. Can we maintain the capacity and improve upon the capacity so we have a predictable food supply? And then can we tremendously improve upon the will to make sure that everybody on the planet has something to eat?
When we talk about the resources needed in the future of agriculture, where does water rank among those that you're more concerned about?
Well, it's interesting. We're here at the conference for food and water water for food security, and it seems so simple, but you know, water is for living. If we don't have water, we don't have good water, usable water, the whole agricultural endeavor can collapse on itself. Now, it's one thing if you're rain-fed, and so much of the world's food supply is rain-fed. It's over 90% in Africa. Here in the Midwest, I believe it's over 80% is still rain-fed agriculture. I'm an irrigated agriculturalist. I'm a farmer that turns water on and off the way I need it, when I want it, how much I need, and I'm able to fertilize accordingly. So there's such differences in the way you look at the ag infrastructure around the planet, and for so much of the planet that is still vulnerable to shifts in climate, shifts in water patterns, rain patterns, or heat patterns. Which it's our biggest challenge is how resilient can we be adapting and anticipating some of these, say, water insecurities.
What areas in agriculture do you think over the next 5 to 10 years we should focus on, policy or otherwise?
Well, I think there's several. In our own country, but it's global as well, you have to have an infrastructure that works, whether you're delivering water, cleaning water, servicing water, and if that system is built out of a 20th century or even a 19th century backbone, it needs to be upgraded. Deferred maintenance is not helping the world think it's going to have a good future. We need to understand that where water is available is not necessarily where it can be delivered to. California is probably as good an example of putting water into odd places that you thought you couldn't grow in, and yet when you create an infrastructural improvement, suddenly you can't believe how much productivity can be achieved. So with the tendency to say that, okay, what is the solution set that might fit a problem? I think that's where our excitement might be right now, is that there's just a lot more tools in the toolbox. We have a much more robust toolbox than we had 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Just think 100 years ago. It's unbelievable where we are today. And then that then gives us a chance to rethink what's possible.